The Knights of St. Catherine, The Return Home. Chapter 3, The Daughters of Apollo. Nova Richardson scrambled to get one of the last seats in the Daughters of Apollo Assembly Hall, which was conveniently located in the sub-level of the Natural History Museum, and began taking notes. We must do what is necessary to find out all we can about this new threat that has arrived in London. As our oracle Nate still has not received a vision of what this thing is, we need to find out if it compromises our assembly's existence. Spellbinder Frankie Linden paused in her speech to allow the members to take notes, and to her mind let the gravity of the situation sink in. All that we do know is that the disgusting werewolves, the Knights of St. Catherine, went on a mission to Belgrave University to visit their counterparts, the Knights of St. Christopher, and their leader has come back with a child, but a child born to her and the Christopher leader. All that we do know is that this child is not a turned werewolf, but a born one. Therefore, not just a simple child, but a new Hyde as well, a brand new werewolf. So I task all members of the Daughters of Apollo to scour this city and find the child. We need to ascertain if it is a threat to us. Thank you. Now go. Spellbinder Linden finished in her usual fashion, striding off the stage and towards her office. Nova gathered up her things and raced the long way round to Linden's office. Nate, I'm simply concerned this thing may not be part of Phenomene's vision, but it may destroy us instead. And since you cannot prove to me what this child is, these are the steps we have to take, Linden explained to her oracle. Nova, I can sense you are around that corner and can hear us, so you might as well come in, Linden stated, walking into her office. Nova peeped around the corner and shut the office door behind her. Well, student, I sense you have something to say, Linden remarked to Nova. I can't understand what a child would be the cause for so much fuss, Nova stated, shrugging her shoulders. Linden motioned for Nate to take over the conversation. It is not fear of the unknown that scares us, but the first Pythia, the first oracle of Delphi, and the first oracle of the Daughters of Apollo, detailed a vision she was given about this situation. Here it is, Nate exclaimed, handing Nova a photograph of the original text and an English translation that he had dug out of his bag. Nova arched her eyebrow at Nate and looked down at the papers in her hand. Today has been an unusual day. I was going about my temple duties as normal when I received a vision unexpectedly. Yet this was no normal vision. There were metal birds in the sky and unusual chariots on the street. I turned and saw a young man. He was no ordinary man. There was a wolf standing on its hind legs behind him, with its paws on his shoulders. More importantly was the woman who was standing beside him in our white ceremonial robes. Therefore, she must have been one of our daughters, and she was holding his hand. She was also heavy with their own child. They are happy, as are the wolves and his family standing behind the man. But our family and other daughters are not happy. They are scared and believe that this situation is the end of all things, when it is the opposite, a new beginning. I fear for what our daughters will become in the future. Nova finished reading and looked up at Linden and Nate. I still don't see the problem, Nova stated, looking at Linden. Phenomene was afraid of this thing. She was afraid of what we will become, Linden shouted, standing up from her desk and angrily stomping around her office. Nova glanced at Nate, who simply rolled his eyes. I've studied this text and many others like it over the years, and it's all the same. The wolves are a threat to our organization. If you can't understand that, then leave my sight, Linden ranted. Yes, Spellbinder, Nova replied, bowing slightly. Nate followed her lead and rushed out after Nova. Nova! Nate called out. Then she turned around and looked at Nate. Hmm? Nova responded. I have no idea what text texts Lyndon is talking about. But as the current oracle, I haven't seen anything but positive things about this situation, Nate explained. Yes, I can feel that. I felt that she is scared to lose her position and power to the wolves. She doesn't like someone else having more power than her. Nova sighed. Come on, student. Let's go and you can buy your oracle some dinner and drinks and talk about something else. Like, is there anyone worth sleeping in within this organization? Nate said with a grin. Nova smiled back, saying, The King's Ton is supposed to have some nice food. As Nova and Nate headed out of the Natural History Museum towards the pub, they did see some of the daughters following them on Lyndon's orders. Chapter 4. The Wolves Panic. As soon as Ellie and Henry got back to the house, Ellie called all of them into the living room to give them a rundown on what has happened with the White Magus. So the Daughters of Apollo want Henry, huh? Gemma summed up. Yes, but we can't allow that to happen since they think he's a threat to them, Ellie replied, trailing off. And we need a plan to stop that happening, Ethan finished, as Ellie nodded. What about setting up a trap where we can control the situation? David suggested. Or what about just a meeting with their leader to discuss the situation? Henry asked. Are you crazy? Ellie shouted. They want to kill you, she continued, throwing her arms about. I think our best plan is to set up a trap or demonstration to show the daughters that Henry is just a standard werewolf, James agreed. Well, since Henry is now legally 21, I suggest us boys head out to the King's Ton for a drink and maybe some dinner, Ethan announced in his normally booming voice, throwing his arms around the younger wolf's neck and dragging him out of the door before his mother could argue about it. Well, it's just you and me. How about I order some pizza for us for dinner? Gemma asked. Ellie smiled and replied, Sounds lovely. I'll pick a movie. After 20 minutes, Gemma whined, when is the pizza getting here? While looking over at Ellie, who had not moved. Ellie, what's wrong? Gemma asked, at seeing Ellie's expression. Do you smell that? Ellie replied, closing her eyes and breathing deep. Oh, it smells like Hamish, Ellie whined, while in her head Arctic was going crazy as well. She ran to the front door and threw it open, and on her doorstep was her mate. Ellie didn't give Hamish a chance to react before she jumped into his arms, wrapping her legs around his waist, and kissed him thoroughly. Miss me? Hamish said with a laugh when they broke apart. You have no idea, Ellie replied, before attacking his neck with kisses and small bites. Hamish replied with a growl. I'm going to do an extremely long perimeter check and try and find the pizza guy, Gemma stated, skirting past Hamish and Ellie. Just don't break the house, Gemma called before shifting and taking off at a run. My love, you are wearing far too many clothes, Hamish complained, carrying Ellie through the house and to her room. Hamish, you wait here while I go and check the doors are locked. I do not want to be interrupted. Ellie kissed Hamish and headed out of her room. Don't be long. Hamish's voice floated from her room. Arctic, do you and Tundra think you can sit this one out? Ellie asked as she checked the house out. Sure. Tundra and I can catch up when it's our turn to patrol the grounds later, Arctic replied as Ellie got back to her room. As soon as Ellie closed her bedroom door behind her, Hamish stalked over to Ellie, backing her up against the door, and while running his nose up her neck from her shoulder to her ear, breathing deeply, he growls out, You smell mouth-wateringly divine. Ellie sighed in reply. The more turned on you are, the better and stronger the smell, Hamish complimented, pressing himself against Ellie while she moaned. The same can be said for you, she replied with a growl of her own. Ellie, can you please unbutton that lovely shirt of yours before I get Tundra to tear it off? Hamish panted out. Ellie nodded and began to slowly unbutton her shirt while making her way towards her bed, while Hamish practically tore off his vest and shirt, leaving him in his dress pants. Hamish Chandra growled at how slow Ellie was being and tore off the rest of her shirt and clothes before pushing her into the bed, ridding himself of his pants. Hamish wasted no time and dove into Ellie's pussy like a man who was devouring his last meal. Ellie Arctic moaned and howled as Hamish pushed his tongue as far into Ellie as he could. Ellie grabbed Hamish's hair to push him further into her core and raised her hips to get more friction from his nose on her clit. Ellie cried out as Hamish stopped his skillful tongue work and crawled up Ellie's body, whispering, "I didn't realize how much I missed you," before kissing Ellie so thoroughly she could taste herself on his tongue and sliding his cock through her dripping folds into her core. Hamish's eyes fluttered closed as he moaned, feeling Ellie's walls clench around him as he moved inside of her. "If you keep doing that, I won't last long," Hamish moaned above Ellie. "Well, Arctic is not being very patient and wants her turn with Tundra," Ellie replied, arching her back as Hamish glides his hand down her side and places her leg over his shoulder when it reached her knee. "Well then, we must not keep the wolves waiting," Hamish replied, while thrusting harder and deeper into Ellie as she screamed out her orgasm. Chapter 5. The First Night Out. "Come on, bro," Ethan boomed, pushing the door of the King's Tun open while leading Henry to the bar. "Can I get 4 pints of the beast?" "Cheers, mate," Ethan continued while James picked out a table nearby. "But Nate, I don't understand why Lyndon is so worried," Nova complained while eating her dinner. "The only thing I can think of is that this new wolf, to Lyndon, threatens her position as spellcaster." Nate shrugged at Nova's statement. After a short while, Nova's eyes were being drawn to a fairly loud group of guys sitting nearby having some drinks with their dinner, while laughing at something, especially the man with the dirty blonde hair and light blue eyes. To Nova it seemed that today he was the man of the moment. "Dinna look now, laddie, but it seems you've caught the eye of that lass over there," David commented while simultaneously sipping his beer, motioning towards Nova and giving Henry a nudge. "Why don't you ask her for a dance? The band is pretty good tonight," James suggested while Henry blushed and replied with, "I don't know." "Nova, why do you keep looking at that group of men?" Nate questioned, when Nova stopped talking for the umpteenth time that night. "I don't know, but I seem drawn to the youngest one," Nova finished on a whisper. "You do realize that's the other 3 members are the men of the Knights of St. Catherine," Nate whispered back to Nova. "Maybe he's a new member. And besides, I'm not getting dangerous vibes about them or for us, I mean the daughters, from any of them. I'm on your side of reasoning that I don't think they are a threat to us," Nate concluded while taking in the dreamy look on Nova's face while watching the wolves and having a tingling sense of prophecy about the whole matter. After a few more drinks, Henry was shoved towards Nova's table. Hi, my name is Henry Duke, and I was wondering if you'd like to dance," Henry stammered in one breath, holding his hand out. "Thank you. My name is Nova Richardson, and I'd love to," Nova replied, taking Henry's outstretched hand and flashing a smile back at Nate. They headed to the dance floor. As Nate sat awkwardly on his own at the table, the 3 knights joined him. "Hey there, mate. My name is Ethan, and this is David and James. Now, don't take this the wrong way, but you don't smell like a normal human." "Daughter of Apollo?" Ethan introduced and questioned at the same time. "Yes, I am. I'm their oracle, Nate Sullivan, and I think we all need to talk. But let's leave the young ones have some fun for the moment, yes?" Nate replied, and the wolves agreed.